It is time for another episode of Red Bull Response. Today on Response, D2's pyth is here to answer your questions on how to improve on Valorant. pyth, how are you doing?
Really well, thank you.
Now, you were the third signee to G2's Valorant squad. How does it feel?
It's feeling great. It's like a dream coming true.
Now, what would you say your role is on G2?
I'm a sentinel. I'm a Cypher main. I usually go for the lurking missions and hold the flanks.
For the people at home that don't know what a sentinel does, would you mind explaining it real quick?
They're a bit more defensive agents in a way. They don't go for the aggressive peaks. They usually try to gather information and try to play with the team and play safely. I think it's the most important part of the game is to gather information in the mid-round to get the information what the opponents are doing. It's the best way to win a match.
Now, we got a tweet right here. What's the best way to learn Valorant? And how did you get into the game?
In my opinion, the best way to learn Valorant is to jump into a custom server and go through every agent's abilities to see what they are and how they are working.
Would you be able to show us with Cypher on Bind?
So for Cypher on Bind, I like to do these tripwires when they're coming out of hookah. I like to place one here so that they're jumping into it and you can shoot them when they're in the tripwire. And I also like to do this one for long, where you put it here on the floor. So they step into it when they come out of B-long instead of doing the normal ones in the entrance because they're quite easy to find and destroy with other abilities. For the camera, I like to spot B-long in the beginning of the round to get early information, which is really important for your team because then you can see what kind of setup they're running.
So, can you show us some ability use as Cypher on Haven?
I'd like to start out the match going A and then switching it up going C. So I'll show you my A setup side. I usually like to put the camera up here because it's a really hard camera for the opponent team to spot. I like to put the tripwires here and here. When I'm sitting in Heaven, I'm usually just sitting waiting like this, and when I see something happening or when I see someone coming, I use the cages and they usually run into my tripwires and I can spam them when they're going into them because I'm usually smoked off here and I can't see anything, but I see them when they're going in my tripwires.
Can you ever use Cypher's abilities to play aggressive on A?
Hide in the corner here and you can use your camera as a bait tool so you can get people off guard when they're coming here.
So how would a standard C setup look for you?
I usually like to put the camera up here and I like to put the tripwires like this. And I love to use these cages. This is my way to go. I usually put one cage in here, just aiming in the third trumpet. And it creates a one-way cage that I will show you later. And I like to place the other one like this. Right, it's quite hard to get this one. So up there, and I usually place myself back here. And I play with the camera, and if I see someone coming C-long, I use this cage and I get a one-way, so I see them and they don't see me as easily. And it's the same goes for garage. If they're pushing garage and I see them pushing, I like to use the cage and I see their feet here when they're coming.
Is there any map where you would prefer Killjoy over Cypher?
I like to use Killjoy on this map over Cypher because she has some good nanoswarm grenades that you can use, and she has a lot of bait setups with the turret that you can use. And what I like the most about her is that the ultimate is really good for retakes on A site.
Could you show us some of those turrets you're talking about?
I go to A site as Killjoy, but you can also go B site of course, but I prefer to play Killjoy on A site. So I like to put the turret somewhere up here, so it creates like a weird angle for them where they have to aim upwards toward the turret, and I swing out here behind the box and they're not ready for the swing.
How would you utilize the nano swarm?
Defensive side, I like to put it like under these stairs here where they can't see it, and when they're planting the spike, you can activate it and you can get a cheesy kill when they're planted. And if it's planted front electric, I have a lineup that I'm doing from here. Just doing this and activating it, and they can't defuse the spike. I usually use these nanoswarms to get the site easily. I have a lineup here for CT spawn that I do, and I throw it like this. So it lands in CT spawn perfectly, and I activate it, and they can't peek from CT, which is really good. And if you have the ultimate available, I like to place it here on the box here, because it gets the entire of the site, and they have to rush towards CT spawn. Also, you can combine the ulti with the nanoswarm I showed you, so when they're running out of the ultimate, they will take damage and you might get a free kill.
This week on Pro Tips, we have pyth. Pyth, what do you have for us?
So as a pro tip, I think it's really important that you question every play you do, and that you also try to understand why your teammates are calling what they're calling, because I think that is really important. So you learn to understand how your team is working, because it's all team-based, it's all based off communication. And so always try to question why your teammate is calling something, and always try to question yourself. Why did I do this? What could I do better? Could I use something from another player to do it better, etc.
And that will be everything for this episode of Red Bull Response. Thank you to pyth for joining in, and we'll see you guys in the next one.